Do you see how the picture is like grainy? What is that? A reflection? Oh, it must be a reflection off the TV. No? What is that? A reflection off the screen. Oh, it's because there's a mirror. Oh, we can see. We can see the mirror through the curtain. Okay, fine. This is a terrible beginning to a video. I've wasted 45 seconds of your time. I do apologize because time is what we've got here, right? And I don't want to waste anyone's time. But I was just thinking about doing a reading based on the last pick a reflection that I did. There was a pile that was talking about the potential versus the reality. And what was coming through was that there was a potential want desired, and the ingredients being put towards that potential did not match or would not create what potential was desired. Right? So essentially, what is holding you back? Because I wanted to explore what is the ingredient you're putting in that would prohibit that outcome. Okay? And yeah, that's what we're going to do. So let's give you some choices here. Look at these 3 items. I guess I don't have anything to hold them up on. What is this? This is kind of funny. Have you ever seen these wipes? They're flushable wipes. And do you see the message on it? So one time I got my car back from the mechanic and he had placed my keys under this thing of wipes, which was in my center console, with faced this way. It's like, oh. But anyways, it's a weird thing to be on wipes, right? And I'm going to show you these pics. It's going to be pick 1, this little amethyst point. Pick 2, blue sandstone. You can barely see the sparkle in it, but those sparkles that are flashing, that's because of the sandstone. And that's a pendulum. And then this amethyst chunk is pick 3. Just 3 items that I purchased from Temu. I had a friend who was ordering from Temu, and then my son ordered, and they were both happy with it, because I thought it was a scam, to be honest. And it's very, very, very gimmicky. And it's completely set up to hit you off for dopamine rushes. But some of the stuff is okay. Now these items that I just showed you were not as expected. Like, the impression that I had was that they would be much bigger. But I didn't pay a lot. I wanted to try it out, and some of the items that I did get were fine. So about 5 out of the 15 items were like, oh, that I thought that would be much better. So I got 10 items out of the 15 that were like, oh, this is good. This is good value. So that's my experience with Temu, in case you were ever wondering. But also I recognized that I was like, they have this like spinner where you can get a certain percentage off if you hit the spinner, and it's like all set up to give you like that little hit of dopamine when you shop or when you hit the spinner, and then you have a coupon to use. So I got sucked in, made 2 orders. Like, the first order went smoothly. It was some stuff that I needed for my granddaughter's birthday party. Just looking for like decorations for dinosaurs. She really loves dinosaurs. The kid loves dinosaurs. She gets excited whenever she sees dinosaurs. So that's the theme of her birthday party. So I found some stuff on Temu and ordered it. It came. That stuff was all pretty good. Really affordable prices. And then they sent me this like chance to spin and have a coupon in my email after the first order. And I was like, oh, she probably needs like a party dress, and maybe there's a dinosaur one. And so I got sucked in and placed another order. And then I recognized, eventually here I recognized, oh shit, I am actually doing this for the dopamine hit. I am in need of sitting and being present with some want to have dopamine. And so in recognition of that, I was able to adjust and kind of just like meditate on what was the feeling that I was having, or what trying to avoid by replacing it with the dopamine hit, you know? And for me, what I most recently worked on was this this version of me that would have been susceptible to the trickster energy. So if you saw my last talk, which was after the last pick of reflection, I did a talk on mastering the trickster energy, and we actually went through the healing process of healing from the trickster energy, because we acknowledged it, we validated why it's there, and we validated what a trickster is and all that, and what things you might feel about being tricked. And then we accepted that it was the case by really looking at it and acknowledging certain people are it and what dynamics it plays out in. And then we even went to the last step, which was being present with the feeling of being unlovable. So if you are interested in clearing this kind of stuff, that is a great video that I highly recommend looking at, because that was so pivotal for me. I can't even tell you. Like, I got the liberation high after that. I was completely broken into back into my limitless possibilities, back into my wild and free nature. Like, there was just this place where I was like, yeah, I'm fucking free. I'm freer than I was free when I thought I was free. And also with that came a bunch of anger and like pessimism and pissiness that I had to process through before I could kind of come back into balance. Because what happened was, when I loved the part of me that was unlovable, when I admitted that I am unlovable sometimes, and I broke into that wild place, suddenly it was okay to feel angry again. Suddenly it was okay to be pissed off and to kind of feel like a flippant nature within myself, and just be annoyed with some people, you know? And that's something that I didn't really allow for myself, because I didn't recognize it as my authentic self. But it's not necessarily my authentic self, but my authentic self is free to express those things if she feels, right? Like, it doesn't mean that I'm going to hurt somebody, right? I can feel these things without causing harm to myself or another. And so it's perfectly fine, normal, and part of being in a human body to experience some of those things. And because I had been denying myself that for a long time, it was like that pivot right there, that talk that we had there when I was willing to be present with the feeling of being unlovable. It set me off into the place where I was now allowed to feel those things. So a bunch of those things came up for me to process. So for like 2 days, about 2 days, maybe almost 3 even, I was just kind of pissy, and then I was apathetic. But it was interesting, because at the same time the universe had me doing my busiest week ever. So it was like I had to manage living life and doing all the responsible things that a person has to do, while allowing myself the time to process these feelings that I had been suppressed and denied in myself for so long. And on the other side, what I can say is, like, cool, I did it. But while I was in it, I can say that I felt minorly overwhelmed and a little bit resentful that I had to do those at the same time, but I think that was even part of it, because I needed to be present with resentment as well within my being, you know? So, well worth it. I'm so glad that I say we, but, you know, let's face it, I was doing all the talking. But I do welcome a conversation if you have thoughts or perspective or experience to share on that topic. Because I focused in on one way it plays out in human relationships, but of course that trickster energy plays out in other ways, you know, in our human lives as well. And what I've been doing is, other places where I noticed the trickster energy playing out, I've been applying the concepts that I discussed in that talk just to make sure it translates. And so far it has translated, and that my understandings that I shared about how the antidote to trickster energy is being okay with the unknown. And you'll recognize that being both lovable and unlovable, being unlovable puts you back into the unknown, right? Because if we're loved, then we're accepted, and people like us, and, you know, and then we know that we're okay. But if you're unlovable, now you're back into the unknown. And it's such a freeing place to be, I must say. And it's just so apparent afterwards how love and the idea of, like, being loved is so built into our culture and our religions, and it's sold to us as the thing we want to achieve and be. And that is a trap. If we live our lives trying to be lovable and trying to only acknowledge what is sold to us as the idea of love, that's actually not what love is, right? Love just is. We are love. But trying to behave lovingly all the time, depending on what you've been taught that means, can limit you. You know, because sometimes the loving thing to do is going to be put somebody in their place and stick up for yourself, or say that offhanded comment that's going to throw them off balance and get them out of the trance they're in. They've been living out their whole friggin' life, you know? Just like, if that's your authentic version of self-expression, not that you do it for that reason, not that you're manipulative and coercive, only by naturally being self in an authentic sense of self-expression. I think when we have the agendas and we're telling ourselves the stories, now we're getting into something else, right? Now we're getting into power struggle relating. So when we express ourselves, it's not with an expectation of the other person, and it's not attached to the outcome of the other person, right? So there's no agenda like I will hurt you. There's not even the agenda of I will put you in your place. I'm just using that expression to describe that that's what's happening, but it's not because I planned to do that or I tried to do that. It's because my authentic expression naturally did that. You get that? So I realized that also this was like breaking the curse of Aphrodite. Now there are several curses of Aphrodite, but one of them is Zeus put a curse on Aphrodite to only ever be able to use love as her weapon in any battle she was in. And I recognized that in my life, I adopted, love as my weapon. And if you looked at my astrology chart, you would see that Aphrodite is quite prominent in my chart, very close to my life purpose, North Node. So I knew it was going to be a theme in my life that was pretty important to my understanding and experiences here. And earlier on, I had to decipher the curse of Aphrodite, where she couldn't decipher between lust and love, and that was a very difficult one for me. But this curse was only being able to use love. Now, in my life, I did just use love to get as far as I got, right? It served me well, I must say. And I would have sworn by it. That love is the answer. I would have fucking sworn by it until this point. And that just makes me want to cry with gratitude for the tricksters in my life. Because while they trapped me, they also set me free by making me wake up to the fact that I actually do unconditionally love myself and others. I really do. I have that ability. But it's because I love myself, and it's because I am love, and it's because I'm willing to be the authentic version of myself. Right? It's not because I'm actively trying to. It just is. It just is, like I don't have to try. And then realizing that, right? Because I could know that I love somebody even when they did the darkest things to me. Like I've had some people, I hesitate to share, but I'm going to share. I've had a loved one piss on my bed, punch me in the face, 4 black eyes, big egg on my head, piss in my juice, break down the door with a bat, holes through the door chasing me. I've been chased, I've been left on the side of the road. This is not to mention called names like it's like nothing. And this is at different stages of my life. I have been treated pretty badly by people who I loved. And I could never not love them. I noticed it while it was, happening. I may have been prompted, or my response may have been to take distance from them. Usually not lash out at them, especially as my maturing happened. Earlier days I would have lashed out. As I matured, I no longer lashed out. And then as I matured, I would take space. And then I got to the point where I realized, gosh, I don't not love this person. Like, I still get it. Like, yeah, I'm not going to stick around to be abused anymore, but like, I totally still love this person, and I see what caused them to be that way, and what pain they're in, and what traumas they're acting out and projecting, and I can't help but just love them, So unconditional love, totally valuable, I get it, I'm not knocking love, but it's both, right? Because if we have these programs and these stories we tell about what love is, and then if we spend time not loving ourselves, right? If you have to actively learn to love yourself, that means you've spent time not loving yourself. If you've fed yourself bad food, if you've sabotaged yourself in any way, if you've fed yourself some sort of poison, or stayed in a relationship that where you were being abused in, or if you did abusive things to your own body, like cut yourself, or anything like this, or you played BDSM, or did sadism and masochism kind of stuff, any of those things, if you've spent any time doing those things, then you have spent time feeling or being unlovable, and you didn't love yourself at those times according to the prescribed idea of love. I want to say generally prescribed idea of love, because I'm not saying that everyone's got it wrong or anything. I'm just saying from this perspective of like love as an action, or love as something we do, right? It's actually not, right? Like I said, it's who we are, but from that perspective of where our fragments are, like the fragment is thinking that love is a thing instead of what we are, So we can do what we want with who we are, and either way we're love. But what we might sometimes experience is what we feel, what we perceive, what a fragment of us is experiencing as a lack of love. And so if we know we've spent time not loving ourselves, then we know that we can also be unlovable. Just like we could be victorious or shallow or driven. These are just adjectives to describe actions and ways of being. That's the same with the way I'm using love in this example. So what I've realized is that even besides love, having to use love actually does weaponize it, because we're applying a meaning to it that's not actually true. And I'm not saying whether this is right or wrong, but like well, maybe, because it's a sort of a misunderstanding, and it makes us sometimes be in that position to strive for love, not knowing it's what we are, and we can never not be it. So it's like you could get lost in that little loop or that maze of just trying to prove your own love to yourself, and it's like kind of silly if you look at it that way, right? So, yeah. So coming to this conclusion during the talk on mastering Trickster energy was like life-changing for me. Loved it, have loved being free, even more free. And I love that I don't even have to love it, and it's just is, you know? And, yeah. Alright, so if we were to look at all that, what I've shared, and we were to use that reading that I did that day, as if it was for me, and I was saying, well, what potential am I trying to reach while putting in some sort of ingredient that's not going to allow me to achieve it? And for me, that was I wanted to be free, you know, like freedom was my ultimate achievement or success or victory. And I was putting in the ingredient of being lovable. So I could never achieve freedom if I was always needing to be lovable or loving. If I always needed to be lovable or loving, that is not freedom, is it? So that ingredient in my mix would never achieve me to freedom. I tricked myself. And that's another way how this trickster energy plays out, right? It doesn't have to always just be someone outside of you. If somebody outside of you is tricking you, it's very, very likely that you are also tricking yourself. They can't trick you without you tricking yourself. So, that's exciting, right? Let's pick one. What ingredient, or what is holding you back, or what ingredient, will disallow you to achieve your potential? I feel like I should turn the light on, but let's see. Let's see if it will light up a little. Like there's plenty of light. I don't know. There's a song in my head. Hold on. She is love, 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 love. She takes it all. I'm trying to get to the chorus so I know what song it is. I've been beaten down. She takes it all. I call her love, 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 love. What is that song? Who sings it? I'm gonna try to put the lyrics in my phone and see. I'm also gonna see if I can put the light on. One moment, please. Okay, here's what song was coming to my head. This is great. It's called She Is Love. And it's, I guess, Parachute sings it. I've been beaten down, I've been kicked around, but she takes it all for me. And I lost my faith in my darkest days, but she makes me want to believe. They call her love, 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 love. She is love, and she is all I need. Well, I had my ways, they were all in vain, but she waited patiently. It was all the same, all my pride and shame. She put me on my feet. They call her love, 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 love. And when that world slows down, dear, and when those stars burn out here, oh, she'll be here. Alright, so that's what the song is, and I think that's very appropriate for that little introduction we had where we were talking about being love. And you see the reference to the stars burning out. When we look at the astrology chart, as you've probably heard me talk about, we can transcend all that energy. So that's pretty much like the stars burning out. Like if that energy was pressing on us and we balance it out, we've escaped it now. It's just like turning the switch off. And then pride and shame, of course, is what separates us from knowing that we are love. And patience really is an important key ingredient to letting it all fall away. And I can attest to the fact that even though we don't have to be loving, even though we don't have to know ourselves as love, love really is all we need to get there. It's pretty cool. And it's a paradox, just like everything else in this thing we're doing. Okay, so what is the ingredient that is not helping you get the outcome, get the potential? We've got avoidance. So that's interesting because we were talking about the trickster energy and we talked about the avoidant attachment style. So this could be in reference to the avoidant attachment style. You might want to look into that. Or it could just be that you're actually just avoiding either looking at it, dealing with something, avoiding taking the first step, right? So when we get inspired to something, that's something we receive through our feminine energy, and then when it's time to take action, we use our masculine energy. So which energy are you in? Are you in the energy where things come to you? Are you being pursued? Or are you the one who pursues things? That's how you'll know if you're in the masculine or the feminine energy. So the feminine is the receiver. And sometimes you'll see men who are very desirable or charismatic, and they'll have a lot of women after them. And what you don't realize is if those men aren't the men who are like, I want to say going after, but it's not necessarily like that. You know, it's like if the man isn't like actively taking steps towards the feminine, then he's likely in a distorted feminine energy. And so what that means is any feminine that he gets into a relationship with, if it's a man and any woman he gets in relationship with will be forced into their masculine energy. So they'll start acting like his mother, telling him what to do, being bossy, being expectant, trying to like coordinate his schedule and get into his money, because a masculine who is in his damaged feminine energy will force a feminine into their masculine energy. So it's very interesting like that. But this avoidance, it's on a scale, right? So you'll know best how that's playing out for you. But the other thing is preoccupied. So you're avoiding actually taking the masculine energy that would be required to make your potential happen, because something else is taking your time. You're putting your action into something else, and you're avoiding taking the steps that it would take to achieve the potential. Now that doesn't necessarily mean, that's not necessarily wrong if it's not the right time, right? But let's see, is it the right time for pick one to clear their schedule to make the steps? Is this the right time for them to take the steps? Some sadness that needs to be processed through. Okay, so maybe you're avoiding it because you feel like it can't happen. And that perception may be for your soul need to activate and feel sadness. Because remember in the beginning, in the intro, I talked about when I got free from needing to be lovable or loving, I all of a sudden felt all this anger and like resentment and pessimism and irritation. And it was like built up waiting for me to feel it. And this is kind of just like one of those feelings that's like waiting to be felt by you. And you need an external experience in order to activate it in you so that you can move through it. And that will take acknowledging it, validating it, accepting that it's there, and being present with it. Okay? And that's also a feminine energy. the presence. But that's not a damaged feminine energy. There's another view of this thing that you need, and then there's an ending. Okay. So before you can take steps, you might be avoiding the feeling the ending. Okay? Now, with every ending, there's a new beginning. Okay? So there's some cycle that's ending, and you may be avoiding letting it die, so that you don't have to feel what it feels like for it to end. Now, this could be because earlier on in your life there was an ending and you didn't fully process or let yourself feel the sadness. And maybe you've kind of been subconsciously running from allowing yourself to feel the sadness of an ending since then. And this was a gift from your soul, this experience, this wanting this thing but not being able to get it, and thinking that you'll never have it. That experience of loss is what triggers you into being able to feel the sadness associated with a loss that happened to you earlier on. Now, what might be happening is you don't have room to process it yet. So make some room. And this is within your mind, right? If you're preoccupied, that means you might be using your mind to think a lot. And thinking is masculine energy, but this also is going to require you to give some room so that the feminine energy of presence can be used. So that's why there's this balance that happens between masculine and feminine. So you may be experiencing some extremes right now while you try to come into balance, but this is just some clues about the path you're on and like the things you'll see along the pathway, you know what I mean? And one of them is going to be requiring you to make some room so that you can be with that sadness. It is time to evolve. And the feeling of wanting as well, right? It's not just something's ending, it's something that you really wanted is ending. Something that you really wanted is ending, and it's time to evolve. For some reason, I just keep getting the question, is there a new beginning? And I don't know why that's so important on this, because it's just my intuition. So let's ask this. Find out more in gratitude. All right, so what this is saying is, before you jump ahead to the new beginning, there's more, but when you heal this, you're going to be grateful for the part that you've just been through. It's like when we talked about the trickster energy and we went through that process of being present eventually with the feeling of being unlovable. After that, I'm telling you that I got a liberation high, right? I felt free. And then I was grateful for the whole experience of having tricksters in my life. Remember in this reading I said that? So this is kind of saying like, hey, sure, there's going to be more, but right now we're on this. And you've been avoiding this, and we're telling you, like, go through this because you're going to find gratitude for this on the other side, and then there's going to be something more. You have to be willing to take the step that's in front of you that you've been avoiding. And remember, the whole question, the whole reading is about what ingredient is in your way to not allow the potential. So the basis of the reading presumed that the potential was possible. Right? We have a name asteroid, so you are actually experiencing an ending with somebody, I believe. And we've got scapegoat. So again, this could be just that, yes, this person was the person that activated it in you so that you could have the feelings that needed to be processed from earlier on in your life, right? This person's kind of taken the blame as the one that's causing you the pain, but actually the pain was lodged in you, and this person actually is setting you free, and you're probably going to really appreciate it after you feel that liberation high of having been present with the feeling that was uncomfortable to feel and that you'd been doing a lot to avoid feeling for a lot of your life. It could have been drinking, could have been smoking, could have been eating, shopping. Remember in the beginning I talked about Temu and getting that dopamine hit? Could have been anything that gives you the dopamine hit to just feel good. you know? All right, pick one. That's it. I don't know why I said, oh, yeah, I just pulled it out. So part of why you might not want to process this before I let you go, I got needy and persecutor. It's because if you admit this is ended, then you have to admit that you wanted it. And that might be something that you've never allowed for yourself. You maybe don't allow yourself to feel like you wanted something that you can't have because you don't want to feel needy. You're not dependent on other people, right? And this has caused you to be the persecutor, meaning maybe you've turned on someone because the outcome wasn't what you wanted. Because the potential wasn't realized, you may have turned on someone, when actually, according to this reading, why the potential was not realized is because there is a sadness that needs to be processed through before. Because right now your vibration says, I am sad because I lost something. So if you're sad because you lost something, the only thing you're going to line up with is something else to lose so that you can feel the sadness. Right? You cannot line up with something that's going to stay because your vibration says, I am sad because I lost something. You attract what you are. Okay? And if this is with a specific person, perhaps this person's role in your life is that they will always reflect back to you what you are and what you need. And you will be grateful for it and you will appreciate it when you're on the other side. Right now, probably doesn't feel great. And the reason why we turn into persecutor is because we don't want to feel the pain, so we put it on them. It's like, no, this person sucks. Or maybe even the thing we need to process, we say that they're the one who feels it. Oh, that person feels bad that they lost me, I know it. You know, that kind of thing. So that's just a projection. That's a normal human thing. If you watched my other videos, you know that. So this is a matter of like taking it back into yourself. Letting an ending be an ending in the real time and with this person. But also letting the feelings come up so that you can be present with them on a much deeper level where they're rooted in. And there's going to be something different after this, right? Maybe the same thing, a better version of it. Because if you do have a person that's lining up with you and needs to show you the reflection of you, if you change, they change. You know what I mean? There are certain people like that in our lives, and I'm not saying for sure for everyone that's one of them, but that is always a possibility. Okay? And that's like a high-level soulmate kind of relationship. So if you feel you've been in one, and that's why you've been avoiding the ending feeling, this is to say, look, this relationship is meant to, because you valued it, because you thought it was it, because you thought that was the one, because you thought you could really hang with this person and there would be no breaking apart of, because it matters. That's why you can be poked in this painful spot. Because if this was a person that it didn't matter, that was a fleeting person, a fling, then you were never going to be activated in the wound of sadness that you've been avoiding. Which is the whole reason you had flings, right? If you were inclined to keep things light with people, is because you were avoiding having to feel the pain of losing them. And that's understandable, right? And we talked about avoidance and also preoccupied. Like, what are you preoccupied with? Because there's a wound here calling your name. And it's the ingredient that's keeping you from the potential that you wish for. Okay? That's wonderful. I mean, it's wonderful to know that, right? Okay. Now we're really moving on to pick two. That's your reading, pick one. Pick two. Pick two. What is the ingredient that you're putting in that will prohibit you from having your potential? What ingredient is pick two putting in that prohibits their potential? We've got fate and true. And then we've got affected health. So We've got compensate, trial and error. I'm just going to start talking because I can't formulate the whole idea yet. I'm just going to say some words and see what else comes out. So it's like the thing that you are experiencing is something that you needed to experience. Like it is for a purpose in your life. But it is also the thing that's making it so that your potential cannot come to fruition. So it's possible that you've stayed in this fate lesson for longer than you needed to. And it's possible that at this point, this fate lesson, the energy that you haven't quite understood yet, that you've been in for a loop or a lot of loops, is now affecting your health. So think about your health and what's being affected right now in your health. Whatever that is, you can look up the physical or metaphysical correlation to the illness that you're experiencing to get some clues about what emotion or what experience have you not understood yet. Because the experience that you're meant to understand has tried to get your attention by getting louder, and it's caused a physical ailment for you. Now, the physical ailment's purpose is to slow you down, to get you to be still, and to look at things from a different perspective. But the physical illness can also give you clues as to where it originated and why. Like, where is the stagnant energy in you? Like, what do you have? Is it a backache? And look at what the back correlates to. Well, if you look at the back, it's the supportive structure. It's what keeps us upright. It's allows us to stand tall. It allows us to bear our burdens. It allows us to walk without pain, and things like that. So, like, where are you not standing tall? Where are you not feeling okay to bear the burden? Where are you take on too much burden that's not yours? Where are you not forgiving yourself for any burden that you have carried? Where are you holding on to burdens for too long that were never meant to be carried this long? That you were meant to carry for a bit, see what it was like, learn from it, understand what you needed to learn about how you are operating and how you can improve that to improve your life experience, and then let go of it. That's okay. So you may have invested a lot into something and you've been just staying in it because you feel like you should get something back out of it. Like you're like, when is this going to pay off? Because I've invested a lot. I have sacrificed, I have burnt myself out, I have carried this for so long, and I really did expect a bigger payoff. So there's something like that here. And really what's happening is this experience was never meant to give you a payoff. This experience was like part of trial and error. And you were supposed to realize that this was a trial to figure out where the error of your ways was. That's the payoff that you get. The payoff is that you have gained life experience, which helps you mature and expand your awareness to know that that kind of experience with those kind of things going on is something that would be a burden that you don't carry for ever, right? Like, that's something that you're learning from. It's like, it would be like putting a piece of gum in your mouth, right? And you're chewing it. And it's like, okay, you chew it until the flavor's gone. And that would be the fate lesson. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, I learned, I understand what that's like. I know what that experience was for and what it's supposed to teach me, and now I am done with that experience, and I discard of the gum because it's done. I know it's done because there's not giving me anything anymore. There's no flavor here anymore. There's nothing except for if I were to be chewing that gum, thinking that gum was going to, I don't know, grow my teeth back. And I was just like, all right, I'm going to keep chewing this gum because I know it's got to give me my teeth back. It's just got to. I'm just going to keep chewing it stubbornly and not decide that I was wrong about it. That's what's kind of like going on here. Of course, it's probably not gum. It's whatever, apply it to. A job you stayed in too long, a relationship you stayed in too long, a responsibility that you bared the burden of too long, like taking care of somebody, like maybe a car that should be junked and you just keep putting money into it. I don't know what it could be, but like, you'll know better for you. We got Euphrosyne, which is about celebration. Then we got Furious, and then Alchemy. Yeah, part of this might be you're going to get angry when you realize that you've just, I'm going to say wasted your time, but I would advise to not really think of it that way. You know, sometimes this is what it is, right? It's like, sure, if I understood much sooner that the relationship I was in was never going to be fruitful in the way that I thought, I might have left sooner. But guess what? I didn't realize it sooner. I kept hoping. And you know what I realized about that? That I am a very resilient person, that I am diehard, that I am loyal, that I am very strong, that I am, like, very unconditionally loving. I learned a lot of great stuff about myself that I've proven to myself so hard that you could never convince me it's not true about me. You know what I mean? This might have to do with your home life. There's definitely a persecutor in this. Something has turned sour. Yeah, there's some jadedness. This has turned sour. And maybe it's either happening in your home life or it's happening as a result of the household you grew up in. Like maybe it's a marriage, and maybe you learned that marriages were to last forever, that you could not leave a marriage once you were in it. And if that's your value, if that's what you've placed value on, maybe this is life trying to teach you that that's not true, or that doesn't have to be true for you. You know, I'm not telling you what to believe or think, I'm just using this as an example. And now maybe you're sitting in a marriage believing that you can't get out, you're furious and miserable, and you're being persecuted, or you're persecuting the other, and then you feel very jaded by it. And maybe you just kind of want to like escape it by partying a lot, or shopping a lot, or eating a lot, you know, whatever you can to get that little high of dopamine to kind of get you through, which is allowing it to go on for so long. Feeling inadequate, like not knowing what you could possibly do to change it. It's because this is an experience you were meant to have, but it doesn't, it's not going to be more than it is, you know? You've overlooked something, you're being overlooked, or you're overlooking the ingredients that the other party is, or that the job is, or whatever it is that you're looking to get something out of. You're not realizing that thing is never going to get you that thing that you want either, you know? We've got overlooked and then thoughtful. Maybe you're also learning what you do want by knowing what you don't want. So you're having an experience and you're saying, don't like this, can't fucking live with this anymore, can't tolerate this, can't work with these people, you know, don't understand this, can't keep doing this, whatever it is. And then they're thinking, oh, well, now I know what I do want. You know what you do want by knowing what you don't want. And this will affect your day-to-day life. So by turning it around that way for yourself and understanding that what you get out of this is knowing what you do want, is learning a valuable lesson. Like then that's alchemy. That's taking the lead, the density, and turning it into gold, meaning the golden lesson that you can carry with you. All the good gold nuggets that you don't leave behind just because you went through this experience. You went through this experience because you needed those gold nuggets for what's to come, for the potential. Okay? This situation is inadequate to fulfill the potential. And what you're doing, the ingredient that you're doing to prohibit that potential is staying in this situation. And location might be important to this. So again, we talked about home, and it could be work, and it could be that one of those things is let go of because of this. Let's see. Oh, there's some sort of caretaking that's been going on. Maybe you feel like it's wrong, things will fall apart without you. You're putting the weight of the world on your shoulders when really you should be much lighter. You should be able to fly freely out of this, and that might be the example that you need to be for those around you. When you're not willing to stay in a situation because someone's jaded, someone's angry, someone's kind of persecuting, that's time to step out, right? The one rule that we know about angry people is they need space. That we're not their punching bag. It's not our job to like teach them how to get through anger unless they're asking. And angry people need space. And this also says relax. Like your life can be relaxing once you close this fate loop. You can relax into the potential. Oh. I don't even know why this is in my bucket, to be honest, but it's one of the feelings. So you might feel stupid, like, right? So what would be bad about feeling stupid? Just if you have pride that is prohibiting you from feeling stupid, like you made a mistake, it's like you got to deal with that too. Because we're allowed to be stupid, right? We're allowed to be stupid. Stupid just means you didn't know. Can't know everything, then what would you even spend time learning? Are you happy? Don't you want to be happy? And can you apply some self-love to this situation? There is a new way to feel about this, and so you'll be able to shift by being present with all the feelings that you may have never let yourself feel before. Be present with all the feelings, which might be stupid, which might be happiness, which might be pride, which might be the pain of being overlooked, or the happiness of realizing what you really do prefer, or the guilt of not being the one to be caretaking others, or the whatever you feel about being taken care of. Okay, so you've done nothing wrong here. It's just like urging you to move through the place that you're in, because the place that you're in is merely an experience that you needed in order to achieve the potential. Or the potential, if it involves a specific person and it's the person that you're in the loop with, I don't think that's going to be fruitful for you. Because it did say, the impression I got was that the other party, now everyone can change at any time, but like there's some other, it's either a job or a person or group of people or, place, I don't know. Yeah, it could be a place. Yes, it could be a place. So unless that place evolved, right, like right now it's saying that place is not that place is not conducive to what you need to realize. Like what you're realizing is to leave this behind. So what I'm saying is like if you had a potential that you wanted to achieve that had to do with that place, I think that's going to be, it's going to be shown to you that was just like an uninformed view or a view that you didn't realize couldn't be. Okay? Okay. Alright, pick 2. That is going to be your reading. And we're going to move on to pick 3. Pick 3. What is the ingredient that you have in this situation that is prohibiting your potential? Or what is holding you back? This I already got. Some sort of feeling. Saturn is a restriction or a responsibility. Iris is the rainbow bridge, so taking the high road. Timing. You're on Earth for a reason. There's a rivalry. We got 48 hours. And desire. Okay. Well, so far I have no idea what all this amounts to. Let me feel into it. Okay, what ingredient? There's a rivalry. It's long-standing. But maybe it's breaking apart. You've been wanting to overcome a rivalry. You've been wanting to overcome a rivalry. Okay. Let's find out more about this. And it feels like time, right? It feels like time to do it. Or something like that. Maybe you were waiting for the rivalry to clear, and it's cleared now. Let me get more about this. This may have been going on for a while. There was like some... I feel like this is all in the past, right? So there was some sort of rivalry. It was very irritating. It went on for a while. And it seems like right now, maybe within the last 2 days, you cleared it or something. And clearing it puts you back into a place where there's options. And now that you've cleared it, the options are more expansive than the potential that you once hoped for. Okay? So because you've cleared something, that potential that you were going for, this is wanting you to know that there are many more options than that, or at least one more. Besides that potential that you wanted, there's more options than that. So it's like, why did you want that? Do you still want that? Okay. There's some sort of projection. Oh, you were projecting. What? Let me ask for clarification here. Where's this situation at now? You don't know how to... It's like you've figured out what you needed to know, but you're kind of still doing it. Because you don't perceive that anything changed. You don't perceive that anything changed. Okay. You may not have seen the other reading where I talked about how people who are in a soul contract with us will sometimes be there just to show us a reflection of ourselves. And what I said was, as we change, they change. And this is a situation where you saw something in someone. It seemed like a rivalry. You may have felt very irritated. And you may have even seen their behavior as very offensive. And you actually have... Let me ask, what's been cleared in this? You have stopped sort of like trying to ignore it. You've maybe like stopped believing that you knew everything you thought you knew about it. Maybe you thought that they put a spell on you or something. And you've somehow like taken that off, and then you've kind of said like, okay, I'm not going to project onto this anymore. I'm not going to feel like this person is against me or attacking me or anything anymore. And now what is the special talent here? Why is special talent here? Okay. And now I'm going to stop expecting that person to always be the same. I am withdrawing my projections. I am withdrawing my expectation that they will be irritating, that they will be my rival, that they're against me, that they're trying to hurt me. I'm withdrawing all that. I'm withdrawing the part of the entitlement to have them show up in a certain way. Right? And now I've stepped into the unknown. So in your case, the potential is sort of like you've already done it. You've already removed the ingredient that would have been in your way to achieving the potential. You have already done it. You have already done it by withdrawing the projection. Okay, so sometimes these soulmates are there to show us a reflection of ourselves, right? So if you were feeling like irritated by this person, or like offended, or feeling like they were attacking you or doing something bad to you, when you stopped looking at them that way, when you pulled back and stopped projecting that onto them, you may have realized that these things were actually energies that were in you that were probably there from childhood that you hadn't yet processed, and that this person was in your life to activate those things in you so that you would feel them. And yes, first you saw them in that person instead of knowing they were in yourself, but then maybe over time, a long time, you took back those projections into yourself and realized that it was you that felt those feelings, that the feeling was in you, that this person was merely poking you in a place, irritating the wound that was already existing. And I feel like once you took back the projections, this person was free and clear and back to like limitless possibilities, back to like the high road, back to like you don't know them that way. You know what I mean? Like they could be anything. It's like back to the place where you're the fool and you're like, this person is someone that I've never met this version of them before. All those things that I thought were just projections, so I don't know this person like that. And if I am having an experience with this person, it's like the first time. It's like this is an experience that I'm having and I can be present with and I can see what it is. It's like I'm not entitled to have them show up a certain way. I'm not expecting that they're showing up a certain way. I'm just able to be present and have an interaction that allows me to be free and allows them to be free, which makes us meet on the high road, the rainbow bridge. Yeah. You're able to now surrender to the flow. For whatever reason, we've got 9 to 10 months here, so another long time period. And I think that it's just kind of saying for a long, long time you were defensive. You were trying to defend yourself against what you felt was a threat. And what you didn't realize was the threat had happened a long, long time ago in your childhood, and it was too scary and too overwhelming to process. And now, in the mature space that you're in now, you are prepared and have done what you needed to do to process through it, to take it all back within yourself. Part of that might have been humiliating, to realize that you projected something that was in you onto someone else who was maybe innocent. This person may well have been innocent. But I want to point out that you're also innocent, right? Because this is just human nature. This is how we work. If we cannot process it through because it's so overwhelming and painful, we will see it in someone else. And so these soulmates that come in and hold the space for those projections for us, what a beautiful gift. What a great service they do for us. And some of it's karmic, some of it's they have to do it because they, are returning a favor, or that's like part of the soul plan. But besides all that, it's still a wonderful gift, an honorable thing for someone to do for us, right? So whatever feelings are being felt throughout this whole process, it looks like you've taken them all in, and they were not pleasant ones to feel. And now we've got move homes. And location was in here, and we got 12 days or 12 weeks. There may have been 2 whole days of war, where you had to surrender control. And maybe you knew, like, that you were just overthinking it, but you couldn't find another way at the time, because it was like the emotion was like locking you into acting that way. Like you couldn't, it wasn't something that you could logic out, so it kept being confusing until you were able to be present with the emotion. You kept blaming it on them, or presuming that they felt that way. Now, it does talk about special talent, so of course we have these experiences for a reason. What was this showing you? What kind of were you hoping to find out about yourself through this process of learning, or clearing karma, really, of learning to take the high road, of learning to be self-aware too, because this happened so long, over a long, long period of time, so you learned to find these things within yourself. Your special talent is that you're willing to go, I want to say boldly, where no man has gone before. You're willing to be in the unknown. That is a special talent, right? Because you have to be able to be on your own without knowing everybody else is gonna agree with you. You know what I mean? Because if you're in the space of limitless possibilities and and you're discovering mysteries out there on your own, where you're on that leading edge, right? And you're getting downloads, and you're having discoveries about what this is here on Earth, and what you can do with what you know, and how you can create, and what you can create, and the ripples that you're, putting out, the seeds that you're planting. If you're there, right? Turn around, there's no one behind you, and there's no one ahead of you showing you the way. Like, that takes, I wanted to say balls, but I think that's an expression that I shouldn't be using, because I don't have any balls, and I don't even know what that's like. That takes something like, I want to say like chutzpah. That takes faith, but that is something that you have. And instead of being like the baby of the zodiac, the Aries, the fool, who sets out without knowing the outcome, you are the fool through the magician. Like, is the magician the second one? Or the emperor? You're like all of it, right? Because you've had so many experiences that you've come around full circle. And where you start out as the fool, you kind of end up as the fool too. Because with all the wisdom that you've gained and all the experience that you've had and all the integration that you've done, you find yourself back at the beginning where you're ready to step out again into the unknown and kind of just like have it be cloudy again, have it be mysterious again, have it be I don't understand again, have it be I need to get in touch with my emotions and feel to perceive this. I mean, that is true adventure. Yeah. And be fed by your inner urge and your curiosity, and though fed by that baby feeling, that pioneer energy, have what it takes in your mastery to ground what you want to from those spaces that you step into to create. Yeah, limitless possibilities exist. So, pile 3, you are someone who has already eliminated the ingredient. You've already integrated or processed through or become the version of you that can line up with the potential. And you are also the version of you that now knows that besides that potential that you were longing for and wanting, that there's other options too. From that big picture view, now you know there's other things, that are open to you. And feel free to dig for those options, right? And like make sure that you are in consideration of why you're pursuing what you're pursuing, right? Because like this is like the version of you that's not doing it from habit or the known. Remember? You're in the unknown, which is complete freedom, which is not established yet. So if you really have that ability, what is your inner urge and your curiosity leading you to? And can you let that lead? When I ask for things from the universe, I try to always remember to say this or something better. Because I don't know the ways that I'm going to limit myself, Like say I want to win the lottery. But I don't know that winning the lottery would derail some of the life lessons that I set out to learn in this lifetime. What if I don't know that? And I don't want to have to relive all the things that I lived up to get set up to learn these lessons or learn what I wanted to learn from, or peek into the perspective that I'm about to experience. So I put it up to the divine orchestration and I say, this or something better, like whatever's in the highest good of all is what I actually ask for. I would like to achieve what's in the highest good of all. I would like to achieve this in the way that's in the highest good of all. What can I do about this that's in the highest good of all? Because it's not just about me, is it? It's about an entire divine orchestration that I am a part of. But yes, I'm pioneering, but I'm pioneering in such a way that I know that I'm part of the all. And yeah, we want to venture out and expand and create and grow and learn. Sure, yes, that's part of it. But I want to do it in such a way that's not detrimental to others or myself. And I don't have the biggest picture view. I'm in the view of a beginner, of a child, of a, wow, I have stuff to devour and learn and discover. And that, that's the juicy good stuff in life, don't you think? I mean, not when you're trying to survive. I couldn't have even cared about any of this when I was trying to survive, So it's only at this stage. And for some reason I am being brought to like say this. You know, if you've been around, if you've been in a lifestyle that caused you to feel like you needed to survive, there may be residual people around that are still feeling like they need to survive, right? And if you are surrounded by a bunch of people like that who are still in suffering or in surviving, and you found yourself in a place where you're now going to step into thriving, some people might not really like that for you. Some people might try to hold you back. Some people don't want you to go there without them. Some people are scared to lose you. Some people want you to be in the role of caretaking them or being there for them or just not being something that they're not, you know? And first of all, that's sad. That's going to hurt and that, you know, can be mourned. But also, if you don't have to mourn that, don't look back. And obviously all the experiences that you've had to get you to this point have shown you who you are. So you know yourself, and don't forget that as you go forward. You don't have to carry others. What you do for them is to be the example of another option. And if some people hate that they have another option that they're not willing to take, well, you had options and you were willing to take one, right? That's what you're here for. And the reason why I'm saying this is I think, like, you know, if you've just stepped out of that energy, it's likely that some people around you are still in the older energy, and they may be, you know, needing you to step up so that you will be an example of another option. Even if they don't want to take it now, maybe down the road or, you know, whatever. Like, it's not your responsibility. It's not why you're doing it. But I just want to give you every reason to continue on, even when there might be past pulling you back, you know? Like for me, when I just said, used myself as an example, and I said, oh, back when I was suffering and trying to survive, I wouldn't have even cared about any of this stuff, but now, you know, I'm all for it, and I think this is a great part of life. Like, I could feel an energy observing me that was not happy about that for me. And, you know, I just want to say that energy, anyone who was in that energy of hating on someone who was progressing or who didn't have to suffer anymore because they worked really fucking hard to not have to, that you could put your energy towards something else and withdraw that projection anytime you want to be free to. That's all. That's all it is. And so, aren't we lucky that we have examples of people who have gone before us? Because I am so fortunate to have had, in my line of view, examples of people who have freed themselves too. And maybe my path is not the same as theirs, and maybe I couldn't walk exactly in their footsteps, but I knew that more is possible. I knew that I could heal myself because they did. I knew that there was limitless possibilities because of others who shared their experiences. And so I have so much gratitude for them. And I feel like that's where it's important to focus when we get to the stage, right? It's like, if you're trying to achieve something and there's a line of people and like the person in the back keeps tripping over their untied shoelace, but they won't tie their shoelace, and the leader just keeps stopping and going to tie their shoe, but they keep stepping on their shoelace and untying it every time, and then the leader keeps having to go back to the line and try to help them up. It's like, at some point, the leader's not going to make any headway unless they just go, unless they just pat the path down and know that when that person gets up from tripping again, they'll find their way. And that person might need to figure out a whole different way to deal with their shoe that's untied or keeps untying, right? Maybe that person's going to switch to flip-flops or go barefoot. I don't know. But the leader, the person who's like going into this pioneered place, not following, you know, anyone else anymore, going into the realm of limitless possibilities, they they don't do that if they are always looking back and trying to herd in others to join them in that. Chances are, if they turn back, there's probably not going to be anyone behind them anyway, you know? Like, for me, no one's behind me, you know? No one's in front of me either. And it's a little intimidating, but also, okay, like, alright, you know? Yeah. And I'm not saying that's on every topic in my life. I'm not saying that that's for everything. Of course, there are still places in my life where I'm following certain rules and achieving certain things and having responsibilities, you know? But in certain realms, I'm free, and, you know, there is limitless possibilities for me in that area. Relationship would be one, right? Because I knew a while ago that I was here to help establish a template for a new type of relationship on Earth. And that would be a relationship that doesn't have the power struggles. And so right now, for me, you know, what that's going to take is lining up with somebody else who is also open to a new template for relating. And now, we're not the only ones who are establishing new templates for relating. But for me, that's going to be like a new kind of thing to experience and step into, where I don't know yet. I'm not good at this yet. Like, I'm figuring this out still yet. I might make some mistakes and figure it out along the way. There might be some trial and error, and I'm okay with it, because I'm in a new area that I haven't tread before, and I like that, because for me, the old way wasn't very fun. I've been not allowing myself to have relations with equals, you know? And I'm ready for that. So that's an example of what I mean when I say I'm free. Like, there's nothing limiting me, right? Like I'm not going to be going on a dating site and, like, doing it the old way where guys evaluate my pictures to decide if I'm worth talking to or not, you know? And, like, then they want to just, like, hook up or, you know, anything like that. It's like, no. This ain't, it's all been done, guys. I'm not saying it's bad for you or you can't do it, but I'm saying, like, not for me. Thanks anyway. And for me, like, I can't tell you what it's going to be like. I don't know where I meet that person. I just have to follow my inner urge and leave it up to the divine orchestration to line me up, because that's what I've put as an option. That's what I've identified as an option and chosen for myself, to be in relationship with an equal who wants to establish a fair relating dynamic that doesn't have the elements of the old ways of relating. And it doesn't mean that I don't want to get married or anything traditional. It just means that this marriage would be something that, like, is defined by me and not what the law says. You know what I mean? Me and the other person, not what the law says. That expectations and turn into, like, agreements. Like, I agree to be this in this relationship, and if you tell me what you agree to, and then if we agree on these things, then this is how the relationship proceeds. Those kind of things. That it's built in that if we outgrow each other, that's okay. That we're not trying to keep each other in bondage. And that, to me, as someone who's codependent, is a very scary thought. And I can tell you that at the same time I say that, there's also a part of me that wants to be happily ever after, just one, you know? So I'm allowing for the possibility of both things, because I don't know what it is yet. But since I'm not going to be dating just for hookups, whoever I do date is going to be for the purpose of being in a relationship. But whoever I date will probably start as a friend anyway, because I'd like to know if we should date for that reason. You know what I mean? So, all new to me. And maybe someone else has already gone through that before, but I haven't. So, I don't know why I went into this whole thing about relationships, what I think of them and how I'm going to be in them, but, or why I even tried to justify my own fucking freedom for thriving. But I'm going to thrive and I don't give a fuck who doesn't like it. Bye.